Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
You know, we were talking earlier as if one career was not enough. You know, you had 8 years in the NFL, and now you've really been pursuing your music career since you've been based out of Austin in 2019. You got a brand new album that came out the end of August, Yours Truly. Mm-hmm. How is this going with the music now? I mean, what's going on, Joe?
It's been fantastic. The thing that I'm most excited about with this album in particular is I remember when I released my first album, and long story short, this is what I thought the first album was going to sound like. Oh. So for me, it's very exciting from a, just an artist standpoint, but then also, from a, being able to conceptualize your vision and get it on wax, so to speak. And then also with each album, but this is like the most personal piece of music I've ever released. So I'm very excited about it.
I really felt that way listening to it too. I got to share with our audience, Joe, to where, it seems to me, it's very cathartic into where, you're melding so many of your musical influences from blues, jazz, pop, even some tech in there. But also, what I enjoyed was the spoken word parts of it, and I know you're a poet as well, to where, it's kind of like talking with yourself and sharing. I think those, how can I put it best, Joe, those mental battles that all of us have, wanting to be better and wanting to achieve. And I think you're very sharing and honest with those in this album.
The internal dialogue, it was kind of my way of trying to artistically express, what that internal conversation sounds like. And that's why I wanted to use a different actor or a different voice besides mine. Mia Davis, by the way, who I worked with, we went to high school together. Fantastic actress. Wow. She's the one that did the voices or the two voices for the each conversation that you're referring to. Right. And I thought that it would be a little bit more palatable to the ear to hear, like a softer voice having that conversation as opposed to hearing like, me having that conversation. And some of that was just, like I said, it's a lot of open stuff. I think some of that was just, still being a little shy and a little withdrawn with certain aspects of it. But yeah, that was my goal, was to let people know, what's going on inside of my head, as well as, you can be relatable, because I know I'm not the only one that thinks, the way that I do or has had certain thoughts, that kind of thing.
Well, and the way it came across to me too, Joe, was very motivational. It seems, that not only, and I think all music for all of us, being a musician myself, to where, it's cathartic, but also you're sharing with others. And to me, you got so many songs in here, even the one titled Mental Illness, that is motivational, to help move yourself, but also to share with others, as you've done in the community, because a lot of people just don't want to address these things.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it. Like you said, a lot of people don't want to address these things. I think half the time when I'm doing these things, I'm just trying to be the voice that I wish I had. When you look around and you see what's missing, as opposed to saying like, well, there's no one there. Maybe I can step in and do something. But yeah, for sure. I'm definitely a big proponent of the more we can talk about it, the more normalized the conversation will be. And once the conversation is normalized, the easier it'll be to work together to make things better for all of us.
I totally agree. Well, and people look up to you, obviously, Joe, with your incredible NFL career. And it's like, well, you've got it all, it's like, and then now that you're pursuing the music, and I got to say, I think this is your best album to date. Having, listened to your past albums and past tracks, and you were so prolific in 2021, during the pandemic, you put out 4 albums in 1 year.
You get a lot of time, you come up with some good stuff. You think, hey, maybe people don't want to hear this. And that's kind of where I got the idea for the internal dialogues.
Right.
Because I used the same actress, Mia Davis. She was my voice during those 4 albums. So, yeah.
Do you feel like the past albums have brought you to this point, though, also with Yours Truly, Joe? Because to me, your voice sounds so great on this new album. And just like on the single that came out, last month with My Angel, yeah, the guitar work, everything. It's like I really like the flavors of jazz and kind of blues in some of these songs too. It's like, you're not confined into one musical space.
Yeah, no, I think I've gone from making the music that I thought. I'm sorry. I'm going from making the music that I thought that I was supposed to be making, and went more to making the music I wanted to make. For whatever reason, I just thought that people would not want to hear like the kind of music that I wanted to make. But it's been fantastic because, the more that I make these kinds of songs, like the better the reception is, the more that they connect and relate. So that's been great for me too. Like, it's the first time saying that, but that's been great for me too. Like just internally, because it'd be one thing if you switch over to it and it's like, oh, this is cool, or you could switch over to trying to do your own thing. It's like, hey man, this sucks. Like,
Well, and I think that's what, to me, listening to your new album, and I love the artwork on the cover too, but it seems like a joyful work. It seems to, like you were really in your element with this album, and that maybe all the previous music you've done over the years kind of led you to this fulfillment.
Yeah. I mean, I would consider this like my first legitimate, like album. Cause I would say like, you had Sincerely and other projects that have dropped. Besides those 4 albums that you were talking about, everything's been less than 10 songs. And even with those albums, the only reason they were so long is because I was trying to drop 1 song a week for the entire year. But yeah, I would consider this to be like the launch point, because those 4 albums were dedication albums to my 4 biggest artistic influences: Marvin Gaye, Kanye West, George Lucas, and Jimi Hendrix. Wow. But going back to like, why I do it in the first place and all that, 2020 gave me an opportunity to do that. And I took that opportunity to really think about what I was trying to do, who I was trying to be, what I was trying to sound like, all of these things. Thankfully, I was able to answer all of these questions and produce this project.
Well, and I got to bring this up too, in your spare time, besides, writing and producing and creating and playing multiple instruments and singing on your own albums, you're also doing comedy stand-up now. That is bold. I mean, it's like, I'm okay standing up in front of a crowd with a guitar on me, but I don't know about getting out there with just a microphone and doing comedy. That's brave stuff, Joe.
I used to think that way until I started singing in front of people, and like, well, you don't have to hit notes. It's something. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, it's easy, but I do think that like some of the things that I've done have prepared me for that. Like people talk about how some stand-up comedians, have to get over taking themselves so seriously. Well, when you've had to get carted off of a field in front of hundreds of thousands and millions of people, watching on TV with a broken leg, it's kind of humbling, like it makes you not take yourself as seriously. And then just being able to, the same way I do with the music, being able to take life experiences and, polish them up and turn them into things that people can, see themselves in, as well as, learn from.
So how's the comedy shows been going? Because I know you've already done like 100, and I know you've got more planned,
145, but I'm not counting. But
wow.
I actually recently performed in LA last month on a couple shows. One was in Manhattan Beach and the other one was in North Hollywood.
How amazing.
Yeah, it's been great. One of the shows in LA, Ali Wong was also on that same stage that night. So that was cool to see. Wow. Honestly, I was too shy to say anything, but that's a whole nother story. But that was cool to see. Roy Wood Jr. has been just, I can't even put into words how big he's been for my comedy career. He's a comedian I've been following since like college, like before he was doing or maybe he was doing stand-up comedy at this time too. I just didn't know about it. I knew him as a radio personality and a prank caller. So to watch him do what he's been able to do, and then to actually like be able to get in touch with this person. And I shared a stage with him at one of his shows last month in New York too. It's just this, I'm not going to say it's a dream come true, because like my dreams are much bigger, but I don't take it for granted. It's very significant to me,
Well, and you just keep achieving. I mean, in all the areas that you're, reaching into creatively, it seems like you keep making headway, just like with this new album. I got to ask you, with yours truly out, are you going to be doing some tours with this? Will more singles and videos, or are you already working on the next album? What's going on with it?
So no, the plan is actually to spend the next year promoting it. Hopefully we can build a tour around it. Also, like you were saying, videos and so forth. Performing different singles. I mean, obviously, trying to perform as much as possible. And then, like I said, promoting and making sure that people have heard it and going from there. Also, from a producer side, I will be like collaborating and working in the studio. But as far as like my own stuff,
right?
No, not next year.
Very cool. Well, I want to make sure for our viewers, Joe, that they know where to go to your website, for social media, for everything. I mean, between, the brand new album, yours truly, upcoming, tour, doing more with that, more singles, more videos, your own label, your comedy shows.
There's a podcast too.
And your podcast, I even forgot. I also forgot to bring up your YouTube videos.
Oh yeah,
to where you go through and have some fun with some products.
Yeah.
So where do our viewers need to go, Joe?
You guys can go to joebarksdale.com. And you can pretty much find everything from there at JBDale72 on all the social sites, JBDALE72. And yeah, I post about everything that I'm doing to keep people informed, and hopefully people can come along for the ride. We can have fun and heal together.
I'll tell you what, between podcast, YouTube, comedy shows, and a great new album, Joe Barksdale, you got a lot of stuff going on. I love yours truly, and the singles you've already had come out. But to me, people need to listen to the entire album, and I can't wait to see these videos and stuff you're rolling out too.
Thank you, man. The pleasure's all mine. Like I said, I'm glad that people dig it, because it's one, like I said, it'd be one thing, to put yourself out there and people are like, we like it, but to say like, oh, this is. Take that home, like, but my heart and soul was in this, and you need to take it back. Like,
I think you're going to have a lot of great response off this, and I think this is going to be the biggest splash you've done so far musically with yours truly. So, Joe Barksdale, once again, thank you so much for coming on the Rockin' Review.
Hey, thank you for having me, and that makes me feel really good because this album is a sign of things to come.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of a Bobby Bones Show.